Hello students. Lecture 41. In this video lecture, we will discuss about summary of civics chapter 2, that is federalism. So first article is meaning of federalism. Federalism meaning when power is taken from a central higher authority and distributed to down level, the constituent organs or the other lower levels of government, is federalism. The federal mechanism works with more than one level of government. So that is one government for the whole nation and other government, that is provincial government or some other level of government. It depends on different federal countries and country wise. Second topic is the key features of federalism. In key features, the feature number 1, in a federation there should be 2 or more levels of government. Number 2, the jurisdiction of each level of government is prescribed in the constitution, meaning it should be in the written form in constitution. What are the areas in which they have to legislate and put taxes, claim taxes, or make administration. Number 3, the areas of jurisdiction in terms of legislation, taxation and administration, whether it is national level administration, day-to-day administration or so, is also mentioned in the constitution. Next feature is that constitutional provisions cannot be amended unilaterally by one level of government. If any such amendment is needed, it can be done by the overall agreement of all the levels of government, and that is also with 2/3 of the clear majority of all levels of government. Next feature is the taxation. Since every individual is governed by different levels of government, so areas of taxation are also prescribed and share of taxes and revenue are also shared better. And last feature of federalism is that it has a dual objectives, two objectives. One is it keeps the country united and helps in reducing the social conflict and by accommodating different social groups as per constitutional parameters. So these are the key features. Key features are important for board point of examination for 5 marks. Next comes the what makes India a federal country. After independence, all subjects were written together, and then those subjects in which powers was needed to be divided were further categorized as of the national interest, as of the state interest, or of the both. And then they were given the 3 different lists. They were encoded into 3 different lists, and these lists were the union list, state list and the concurrent list. And later on 1-2 more subjects came to rise after constitution was written. They were called residuary subjects. So union list includes the subjects of the interest of national interest on which central government has the power of legislation and execution. For example, banking, currency, defense, foreign affairs, etc. Then it comes the state list. State list includes the subjects of the state interest, and on all these subjects state governments are only powerful to legislate and execute. The state list subjects are police, forest, agriculture, irrigation are some examples of state list. Next is the concurrent list. Concurrent means the subjects which are of the interest of both. that is central government and state government, and on which both the governments need to make laws all together. But in case of any conflict, whatever if it arises, then the decision taken by central government will prevail, will sustain. The subjects of concurrent list are education. You might be knowing the CBSE is the Central Board of Education. Then every state has its own education boards. So education comes under concurrent list. Then marriage, then divorce, adoption, succession. Succession means right in parental property and so on. So these are the subjects of concurrent list. Some subjects came to rise after constitution was written, that is computer software. So it falls under residuary subjects. So residuary subjects are under the legislation of central government along with union territories. Union territories are also administered by the central government. So this makes India a federal country. Next article is how is federalism practiced? Where we can practice federalism, where we can keep on dividing the power. So there are basically three platforms where the federal practice can be exercised. The first one is the linguistic state. Here linguistic state means the states in India are named after the language spoken by the people or the culture on which states are called. If we look at the map of India of 1947 and today, if we compare both these maps, we'll find that many states are disappeared and many new states have come on the map. This is how the states were carved out. Linguistic state, the states that is Gujarat, Odisha are some examples of linguistic state. Then Nagaland, Manipur, etc. are the states based on culture and other aspects. And further carving up of states like Haryana was carved out from Punjab in 1966. So it is also on the basis of culture. It is also on the basis of culture. So the cultural aspects are also important for linguistic state. And people living in a state which is known with the language feel pride in living with that area. The second platform of federal practice is the language policy. Regarding language policy, Indian language culture is very rich. That is language culture. If we discuss about the mother tongues in India, more than 1500 mother tongues are recorded. People claim 1500 mother tongues. Out of these 1500, about 114 are the languages spoken by large number of people throughout India. And out of these 114 languages, 22 are the scheduled languages which are mentioned in constitution, and states, different states are empowered to work in these languages within the state. So this is what is the language policy. The third platform is the center-state relations. In center-state relations, it can be described in two parts, that is before 1991 and after 1991. Before 1991, there was center government had adequate powers to amend, to suspend any state government. But after 1991, when multi-party democracy developed and many parties come in center government as well as, and different parties started ruling in different states, then this power was given to states independently. And then after the central government had no power to amend, to suspend or to dismiss any state government. Another thing about is that center government and state government being of different parties never means that center government may undermine any state in which the same party is ruling. So that is not the case. It means that center government looks after the interest of all states equitably. So these are the three platforms where federal practice is continuously exercised. Next article comes is Decentralization in India in 1992. This article also will discuss in two parts, before 1992 and after 1992. Before 1992, in whole country there was only one election commission, and it was very difficult for one election commission to organize free and fair elections for the entire country. Then local self-government, that is Panchayati Raj system, was not in formal existence. Number 3, there were no seat reserved for women category in any elected body. And states were also not having adequate power in terms of legislation and execution. So central government felt the necessity to amend all these policies and make the Panchayati government more powerful and to bring it into formal existence. So after 1992, the 73rd constitutional amendment brought the local self-government into formal existence, officially in power. Now onwards, for local self-government also, elections would be conducted regularly. Number 2, all states were given an independent election commission body which was empowered to organize free and fair elections for local self-government. Next, states were given adequate power to administer the local self-government, and seats were kept reserved. 1/3 seats were kept reserved in Panchayati Raj system, and in other that is elected bodies, seats were reserved for SC, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other backward classes. These were kept in other elected bodies, that is Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and state legislative assemblies. But demand of 1/3 seat reservation for women is still pending. So this is still the women's society is struggling for this reservation. Anyhow, women have got in many states are exercising 50% reservation quota for women in local self-government. So this was the decentralization power before and after. It is also a very important article for examination point of view. Next comes the structure and functioning of local self-government. Regarding structure of local self-government is a 3-tier level government, and the 3 tiers, the 3 levels are: at village level, that is village panchayat, then some few village panchayats together make panchayat samiti or mandal or block, and all panchayat samitis or block mandals collectively make Zila Parishad. Elected head of village panchayat is called Sarpanch. Elected head of panchayat samiti is known as chairman, and elected head of Zila Parishad is called mayor. This is in the villages. Now come to the urban village panchayat, urban local self-government. Urban local self-government is in 2 parts, that is municipality and municipal corporation. The small towns, cities whose population is below 5 lakh are called municipality. They have municipal chairman. And the municipal corporation, the population whose population is above 5 lakhs, they are municipal corporation. So they have their mayors. So this is what is the structure, functioning of village panchayat. They administer day-to-day functioning, the root level democracy. In local self-government, every individual is allowed to participate. This is the only system of democracy in India where about 36 lakh people are elected. This is the achievement of local self-government. If we compare some European countries whose population is still below 36 lakhs, but in India, this much 36 lakh people are elected in the panchayat body. So this is one of the biggest aspect of local self-government, or we can say the biggest achievement of the local self-government. Then after that it comes an experiment in Brazil, that is the city Porto Alegre. In Brazil is basically the South American continent country, and in Porto Alegre, experiment was exercised that in this city the people were given adequate democratic power. to make budget for their city, to find out areas where to spend, where to develop. So about 13 lakh people participated in this experiment. The entire city was divided into wards and sectors, and then afterwards, now every year about 20,000 people are participating in this process, and they decide the areas of development. They also decided that the development would be brought in the areas not only for rich living colonies but to the poor living colonies as well. Buses will also run equally in poor areas where poor people are living, or the undeveloped areas are there. A similar experiment is exercised in India, also in Kerala, and it is also a successful. So this is important for 1 mark, that Brazil experiment of federal experiment, and on the same experiment basis in India, in Kerala state, it is the exercise of such experiment. So that's all from this chapter, summary of the chapter. Keep on watching. Tomorrow means in next video lecture, we will discuss the civics chapter 6, political parties. Thank you very much. Keep on watching.